Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, ReZero, Season 4.
Yep, ReZero, Season 4, Episode 6. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the dojo, and well, you guys go out there and swing some sticks at some people between yesterday and today? Did you swing some sticks in Fable, potentially, or any other game that allows you to swing some sticks? I think you can swing some sticks in Pal World, maybe. That's one big 1.0 update comes out in a month. So something if you're watching this as it releases, maybe if you're watching in the future, maybe Nintendo has tried to sue Power World for the 80th time with the 80th slightly different way to sue somebody. Who knows? Maybe Nintendo will set a record for most lawsuits lost against one company.
And for what I know, they're almost at the point where, like, it's no longer possible for them to extend the lawsuit any longer. And when we hit that point, they're just no longer able to sue Power World anymore for, like, anything.
Yep. So, I don't know. Either way. Stick swinging aside, this episode's title has Julius Origin written all over it. I mean, it's just his name. That's the episode title. That's his name. So we'll just have to see how he fares against the shadow of Reed here, and what Reed is capable of. Could his divine protection be copied for this kind of thing? Why not? All the witch factors were technically copied. We saw what Typhon did to Subaru. We got that flashback last time as well. So it's what it is.
Yeah. We don't know. This whole thing is kind of weird in general, because, like, the only time we've ever seen these kind of memory fragments before is related to witch factors. And as far as we know, Reed doesn't have witch factors to preserve his personality in. So we'll have to see what the rules are for him here.
Right. So lots of intrigue going on. We should mention that the one thing we didn't mention last time was the whole melee thing with her divine protection being the mob beast thing. Why her parents bailed on her. So just kind of minor, but that was something worth mentioning. That's just her divine protection. It's not like some random skill she picked up or something like. So
yeah, we hadn't had any, like, confirmation as to how she was controlling the mob beast, but apparently it's her divine protection, similar to what's his face, Otto.
Yeah.
But whereas Otto is like, he can communicate and befriend animals, she just straight up, like, assumes direct control.
Yep. So anyway, all that stuff being said, this should be a pretty interesting sword versus stick fight. I really hope he uses a stick to fight. I mean, if he doesn't, then what are we even doing here? Why bother anymore? We could just go home. Maybe he won't. Maybe he won't even use a weapon. Maybe he'll just fight hand to hand randomly. Who knows? But either way, he's part of the trial, and they're all capable of being a part of it since Subaru opened it. So the wuss doesn't have to fight here. Not really a swordsman. Yeah. So the only two swordsmen here really are Julius and freaking Amelia, technically. So, and her swordsmanship is more conjurer based. She's more of a spell sword. So
yeah, she's a spell sword. She's predominantly an ice mage who just happens to be able to defend herself in melee.
Yeah. So that being said, I assume most of this is going to be Julius, but episode titles have been misleading before. So,
And I mentioned this before, but Julius, a lot of people kind of sleep on Julius. If it wasn't for the fact that freaking Reinhardt is hacks, Julius would be the strongest knight of the current generation.
Yep. So hopefully he can show off what he's capable of, because he doesn't really need his, members to do that. So, for his name to do that.
He is nerfed because he can't control his spirits right now. But.
Yeah. But that has nothing to do with swordsmanship, generally speaking. That's just like an addition. You know what I mean? A variable to swordsmanship. You could be the world's greatest swordsman and have add-ons like being able to cast frost magic or as well or whatever. But that's just an add-on. That doesn't technically make you a better swordsman. It Just allows you to do more things and be more versatile. You know, actual versatility, not the Warcraft versatility. I'm going to rag on that every time because that stat is stupid. Even though I haven't played in years now at this point, I'm always going to rag on it. I don't care if that stat doesn't exist anymore. You guys can tell me it doesn't exist. I don't care. It was the stupidest freaking stat addition to any game I've ever seen.
You can have all the marksmanship accessories in the world and get showed up by some guy who walks in and eyeballs it with his hand in his pocket.
Exactly. Apparently that guy won something recently, I think. I think he went and won something in the same fashion. So good for that guy. So anyway, all that stuff aside, people on Patreon will see you on the other side of the edit for the time reaction, and people on YouTube beyond see you on the other side for the discussion and review, and all the links to all the places that you might want to check us out on are down there in the description of all the videos that I'm talking about right now, because these intros are shared, because why the hell would I do a second intro? Who would do such a thing? So anyway, we're going to push some buttons.
Something so terrible.
Exactly. You'd have to be a major douche canoe. Props if you know where that quote's from. And what season of that show it's from. And what character. So, let us know if you know where that's from. So, anyway, we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So, here goes something. Well, alrighty then. There you guys have it. Reed, once again, proving that anything can be a weapon if you want it to be. It doesn't matter. If you know, take this mouse that I'm using and bash it over somebody's face, it's gonna do some damage. You know what I mean? Anything's a weapon if you need it to be. So, chopsticks, sure, why not? Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, like you said, if he wants it to, they can cut through anything. So, you know, they're no different than a sword breaker. Same kind of design for the most part. You know what I mean? Anybody who's seen the sword breaker weapons.
Yeah, I mean, we got this with freaking Nanami as well. You know, right amount of force at the right angle, and you can cut through anything, even with a blunt object.
Yep. So that is what it is. Stick swinger title comes from the chopsticks. There you go. We talked about a little bit during the reaction. There is like the Japanese influence potentially from some other worlder. With we got the fact that they're, you know, the other three countries that aren't Lagunica also have swordsmen that are on Reinhardt's level. You know what I mean? So that's something.
We don't know if they have like we don't know if they have like hacks level divine protections the way like the freaking Astria family does, but they're at least like on par warriors.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if we ever get anything on that, because this whole adventure for Subaru seems to be centered around Lagunica and not any of the other nations. It's just kind of one of those things that you kind of just bring up. You know what I mean? Like, example, in Full Metal Alchemist, we knew most of the other countries that surrounded Amestris. We never went to them. You know what I mean? They never went there. So
they went to the one eastern country briefly.
Yeah.
But the one across the desert.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see if any of the other nations actually get any sort of significant involvement. As it is, we've only just had them like alluded to. Like, once again, the inn in the previous arc was the like Eastern Japanese style nation styled.
Right.
Which, yeah, there clearly seems to be some sort of outworld influence on them in their origin, because they are extremely Japanese. And like Subaru even points that out when they're at the inn of like, this is just straight up Japanese. It's not even like Japanese like.
Yeah, it's just like 1-to-1, like just a Japanese inn. Yukiko probably worked there at some point. But either way, it was a solid sequence across the board. So nothing to really complain about. We had, once again, Julius was just fighting him. I think a part of this this part of the test is to do what Amelia did. Set a stipulation for the fight so that you have a chance to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Julius is just trying to beat him, to either kill him or make him yield. I don't think that's what you're supposed to be doing here.
Though, yeah, once again, the only stipulation to this trial is you have to earn his pardon. Basically, you just have to get him to agree to let you pass by any means.
Yeah.
Which Amelia did by putting the stipulation out and getting him to agree to it. Julius just keeps trying to fight him brute force and not actually come to any sort of agreement or stipulation. He's just trying to actually beat Reed, which, for everything we know of Reed, that's not really happening.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Astria family, just in general, are all ridiculously powerful, but Reed was supposed to be one of the strongest. Like, he's one of the few beings that has ever fought toe-to-toe with Satella.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think that's we talked about the rules and how the tower works and stuff like that. So, you have to form a stipulation. You could even do something as stupid as, get into a staring contest with him. You just have to earn his pardon. It doesn't matter. You might not have to even beat him in combat. You could beat him in rock, paper, scissors. Who cares? You know what I mean? So
all you have to do is just come to any sort of agreement with him that if you get him to accept it, then you beat him at whatever the stipulation is. You can pass.
Yep. So I don't know if they're just going to keep beating their heads up against it, but it's pretty obvious that Amelia figured it out. Why didn't they each try to get some kind of stipulation that was in their favor? Which, as was pointed out, this isn't a team effort anymore. This is everybody has to earn his pardon, not just, Amelia won, so everybody gets to go by on the very baby steps spiral staircase.
Well, yeah, that was the thing that kind of caught them all off guard, is they were all just fighting him initially. And then when Amelia won, they figured that they were done, but then he's like, nope, just Amelia can go.
Right.
And then they're all like, wait, we have to rethink this.
Yep. Which, keep in mind that when Julius went back up there, we didn't see the spiral staircase. So it might only exist if Amelia is around. So maybe each one of them gets their own staircase and something terrible could happen. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe Subaru gets the Manbreaker. What if that happens? You know what I mean? Everybody gets their own staircase, and that's the next trial. You know what I mean?
Subaru gets the upside down tower without the glasses.
Yeah, he gets the upside down tower without the glasses. The actual hardest challenge in baby steps. So it's nice to make some references at the very least. If you guys haven't seen Baby Steps, it's one hell of a weird ass game, but it's fun to watch or play if you hate yourself. It's a rage game, but at least it's fun. From what I've seen, and it breaks up the rage with humor, and it rewards you for winning, not like getting over it from Bennett Foddy, one of his previous games. Just him giving you shit in random like dialogue blurbs. You know what I mean? You get some pretty interesting cutscenes for Nate and just everything that potentially happened with that character. It was actually a pretty interesting story if you look at it for what it is from like the macro perspective of what happened to Nate. I mean. And, you have to look past the giant donkey men with their dicks out. But either way, as it stands, it will be interesting to see if there is something like that where everybody gets their own staircase and that's like another trial, or who knows, because you got to think like a jerk. Okay? If you allowed teamwork at the beginning, but then when you get to Reed, everybody has to earn his pardon, this staircase looks pretty Amelia themed to me. Just saying. You know what I mean? So everyone potentially might have to earn their very own unique flavor of staircase. So.
And potentially end up on a different part of the floor too.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, you gotta think like Subaru here. So that sounds like something he would do. And at a certain point he might need his past self to split away from the group or something. You know what I mean? He might need that. So we'll just have to see. But this doesn't seem like the just generic, here's a staircase for everybody to use. This looks very Amelia themed if you look. So I'm just saying, you got to think like an asshole for this. You got to think about what it takes to get to the next level. That's what I would do. I think that's what Subaru would do, especially if he wants to potentially get himself alone. You know what I mean? To do something. And I think the theory on Flugel being Subaru is pretty reasonable at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
bare minimum Otherworlder. You know what I mean? Bare minimum Otherworlder.
I'd still put it at like 80-85% that it's Subaru.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see what comes of this. But yeah, knowing that it's Reed, knowing that the other swordsmen that were on par with him, this actually looks like a. I didn't notice it during the episode here, but since I landed on it, this is a. I was more looking at the design of like the nation's flag in the background, but this is definitely like a Beastkin person.
Yeah. Which we know in Laguna Cut Beastkin are highly looked down on, but this is a different nation. This is also the far eastern nation that most people assume Subaru's from, because all he ever stipulated was that he was from the east. And he makes a lot of references to Japanese culture, which most people just assume is this nation's culture.
Right. So there is that, but as for the rest of it, why Shaola is acting the way she is, it's probably a trigger. Like a flag in like game design. You know what I mean? She probably gets flagged by seeing Reed. You know what I mean? For some specific reason. Everything that she does, there's probably a reason to it.
Well, once again, what we got from her, like talking about Reed before she even knew he was around still, was just the whole thing that she couldn't stand him and that he was a womanizer and that she was always implying that he like sexually harassed her.
Right. But Reed seems to be the kind of guy who like 95% talk. You know what I mean? He's that kind of womanizer. while he'd probably like take somebody out on a date or whatever, he's more bark than actual bite. You know what I mean? He's not going to be like out with a different woman every night kind of deal. You know what I mean? You see characters like that prefer to talk the big game. You know what I mean? Not go very far with it. But I don't think that's really relevant to any of these situations, so it doesn't.
I mean, we know at some point or another he must have gotten married or something because the whole friggin' Astria line descended from him.
Yeah, so he had to do something. So I was thinking of a good red versus blue dick joke, but it's not there. I blame Jeff for this. But either way, this episode was fine for what it was. I will be interested to see if this divine sword comes into effect at all. Divine sword, obviously. Whether or not it can be used for a stipulation, what have you. Whether or not they can actually team up to fight him, because he didn't stop Anastasia / Echidna from attacking him with magic. So there was nothing against teamwork. You know what I mean? So they might have to age mention it during the reaction. Maybe they pull the unseen hand gambit.
Well, no, not necessarily. I was talking about unseen hand. I was just freaking talking about how like that was the way they had to beat freaking Betelgeuse was two of them working together.
Right. Well, we'll just have to see what comes of that. That could be like a stipulation, like it's 2-on-1, and if one of us lands like a hit, then we win, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because Julius has yet to land an actual hit. Amelia is the only one who's hit him so far. So.
And she caught him perving out.
Yeah, and she caught him perving out, which, once again, if you guys, like, we've ragged on Death Battle a lot recently, I'd like to point out that if you're going to use one-offs, then Bulma is the best fighter in all of Dragon Ball, because she literally gets the drop on Beerus the Destroyer multiple times with smacking him over the head, and Whis mentions like every time, especially the first time, it's like, wow, I don't even remember the last time somebody's caught you like that. So if we're going to use one-off scenarios like plank time for Thor, why not Bulma? Then she's the fastest, strongest freaking fighter in all of Dragon Ball. What the hell? You know what I mean? So that is what it is. And it's not like a small hit on Beerus. He gets like the classic, like, damage on his head. So it's just one of those things. Or if you can use one-off nonsense, then come on. All that stuff aside, it will be interesting to see how they decide to go about this. Obviously, they went to talk to Ram about it. I don't know what she could possibly do. That she has even more mana problems than freaking Anastasia does. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, Anastasia, even with her faulty gate, can still at least generate mana.
Yeah. But whether or not the sword is important, we'll just have to see. Might just be a vehicle, could just be a random red herring. Obviously, Ulysses was using it here because, he had his sword snapped by the chopsticks. So, I mean, he could still use his sword. It just hit. So, I could make a tip joke, but that's really lowbrow.
I mean, Shala's right there.
Yeah, she's right there, so we can't do that. But either way, the rest of this was just them having their heart to heart about this, that, and the other thing, their shared past and whatnot. How Ulysses was actually moved by Subaru's nonsense, at the royal selection and that kind of thing. Why he did.
They've had a very unusual history as far as freaking rivals turns friends kind of characters go.
Right. So I don't know. It is what it is, but it's been pretty solid so far. Obviously, since we're doing 2 episodes a week, it's just kind of a different thing we have to talk about. I never pushed the button for this. Well, doesn't really matter. But as it stands, this has been pretty good. I'm glad we actually made it 2 episodes without a death. You know what I mean? I think overloading on Subaru dying got at certain points. It was like there were several times where it was like 4 or 5 episodes in a row, and it was a little excessive. And I know he might have to die a lot for certain things to happen. That's totally fine. But at a certain point, it does. You kind of have to progress the story. You know what I mean? You can't have him just keep getting sniped, that kind of thing.
We still haven't seen him hit a major freaking wall the way, once again, apparently in one of the side endings, he has to spend something like 10,000 deaths in order to figure out how to beat Reinhard. But yeah, there's still been a number of times where it's been pretty grating, just sitting here watching and beat his head against a wall.
Yeah, it's fine if the pacing's good. With the underground passage, that was fine. You know what I mean? Even with the multiple deaths there, the pacing was fine and it wasn't too ridiculous. But there's at a certain point where you look at it and go, you really got to break it up with some comedy, actually progressing the story. Hopefully, whatever his next reset point is, it's kind of like they montage it, or just like they skip to where he needs to be at, that kind of thing. I think that's what some of the earlier season, especially in season 1, where I don't know if it was like that in the source material, but in the anime, he replayed a lot of the same stuff. You know what I mean? Over and over and over again. Especially when he first met Emilia, even in kind of montage, short form, it's like, how many times are we going to do this in the shed or whatever that building was they were fighting the shop, when he finally gets Reinhard to do the thing, over and over again, or even in Roswell's mansion, you know what I mean? Just over and over again. And it was just, it's...
I know they did change some stuff about season 1, but I don't think it was anything super big about the main story. It was mostly stuff they changed some of the stuff with Rem, the whole thing of her being willing to be in a polygamous relationship with Emilia and stuff like that.
Right. But either way, it's just for this, and we've talked about it before, is if it's handled well, it's totally fine. But there are times where it will grate on various viewers. You know what I mean? Not everybody's the same. I know this is how it has to be, so I put up with it. It would take a massive, massive failing from just even an objective standpoint for me to drop this show at this point.
Apparently, a bunch of source material people were really close to, or at least threatening to, drop it over. In Arc 10, there's apparently a massive reset where he dies at one point, and his reset point is literally over a year's worth of the source material back.
A year of our time. that's what we're saying here.
Yeah.
It was written in like 2024, but it shifts him back to like 2023. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Not like a year back in universe time.
Yeah, it's like a year of like actually waiting on source material drops.
Yeah.
That got reset, and a lot of people were very upset about that. I didn't look into the context of what it happens or why it happens, because spoilers, but I was hearing a lot of complaints about that like 6 months ago or something like that when it happened, that a lot of people were very upset because it's by far the biggest like reset that he's had in the series.
Right. So it will be interesting to see when we get there, like how that's handled for the show, because they could easily just montage it and just be like, all right, we're back. You know what I mean? But
as far as this arc goes, though, I can't imagine we'll get through the rest of this arc without at least one death, especially because, once again, the OP, we see the Gluttonies. So I imagine they're going to get involved.
We see the Gluttonies, and we see Subaru, like, getting, like, kind of really twisted and pissed off. You know what I mean? So he's not there yet. So he has to get there by dying more, right?
That, or like another case of like part of the tower being overcome by miasma or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I imagine whatever that situation is, and or once again the Gluttonies are gonna get involved at some point in this arc. So I imagine we will have at least one or two more deaths by then.
Yep. Either way, this has been pretty good so far. Once again, after episode 11, it's going on a hiatus, which I believe, as we speak right now, June, whatever it is, 14th, 15th, whatever, right now. I think it's already on hiatus because I think 11 did come out a couple days ago. I'd have to look at that. I could look at it right here. We could kind of just look at it right here. So go here.
All I know is 9 is apparently the episode that like broke the internet.
Yeah. So I'm not really looking at the titles or anything, but yeah, right there. So 10 came out on the 10th, which was 5 days ago. So without spoiling anything by looking at some of those titles or still images, really, that means in 2 days, 2 or 3 days, 11 will come out, and then it's going to go on hiatus until, I think it said August 17th. So yeah, that would mean, so if it comes out in 2 days, then it's a 2-month hiatus. So, and then it'll be the last 8 episodes in August. So from August to October is where that'll go.
Should be all of Arc 7.
Yeah, which should be all of Arc 7. But just wanted to put that out there. But for us, what we're going to do, I'm just going to keep doing doubles until we're caught up. And then, when we hit 10, we'll probably just do 11 on its own and then be fully caught up. And then since Summer has so much stuff, we'll just pick ReZero up, like a month in to not have to be super overloaded for the entirety of the time. You know what I mean? Well, I could drop it down to 1 episode right now and then probably, after 6, we go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's still only 5 weeks. So that doesn't cover the entire 2-month hiatus. So we might as well just get it done and give ourselves like a month off of not having to have like 7 things or whatever it would be. You know what I mean? So we're still going to do the doubles until we're caught up. I know for Slime, we'll be caught up sooner because the simulcast was 2 weeks behind, and then they had some kind of event in Japan where Slime took a week off, and then it took another week off, and it had like a recap episode in there. So we'll probably be caught up on Slime sooner than later as well. So we'll be down to the one for Slime before we need to be, which is good. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where Slime is because Slime's 5 cores. Bare minimum 2 cores back to back, and by the time the second core is done, it probably will be only a season or 2 before the 3rd and 4th cores start. You know what I mean? Because source material is done, and they're probably just pumping it out, and they're going to finish it. Since they already announced that it's going to be a 5 core to wrap up the series, they're just probably powering through it. You know what I mean? So,
which once again on the ReZero note, Arc 10 is apparently almost over, and then we still have 11 and 12 after that before ReZero is done as well.
Yeah.
But from what the authors said, 11 and 12 are supposed to both be around the same length as 10, and 10 is by far the longest arc so far.
Right.
So it'll probably still be a while, even if there's only 2 arcs left.
Yep. So, anyway, we'll talk more about the potential release in time of that kind of thing, whether or not ReZero gets finished, because there are a lot of animes that don't adapt the whole thing for whatever reason. But this is Kadokawa we're talking about, so they're probably going to finish it. You know what I mean? So, either way, it was another solid episode. I enjoyed it, and definitely a lot more intrigue in this season. So, yeah, we'll just have to see what comes of the tower, what comes of Reed, whether or not they figure out that they kind of need to put a stipulation on the fight to win it. You know what I mean? You just have to earn his pardon. You don't have to knock him out. You know what I mean? So that definitely seems like a very Subaru-y rule. You know what I mean? It's like you have to know how to play the game. You have to know how to manipulate the board into your favor, as opposed to just brute forcing your way through it. You know what I mean? So,
Which, once again, Subaru is one of the strongest beings in this world, and not through power, just through his sheer ability to manipulate situations into his favor.
yep. So, anyway, that's all I got for this one. It was solid. Yep. So, you got anything else, Age?
I don't think so.
Alrighty then. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond have you watching. As always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the dojo. And this was ReZero, Season 4, Episode 6. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.